Hello, I'm Heather Newton, owner of Open House Mystery Parties and GamifiedContent.com. The GameCrafter invited me to be the judge for their social deduction game design contest they ran over this past summer of 2019. I've decided to make a series of videos to give my feedback for the top 20 semi-finalists. The semi-finalists were chosen through a community vote on the GameCrafter, and I, as the judge, am allowed to choose up to 7 finalists. I want to make a video for the feedback instead of simply writing it because I know tone comes through better when you can hear someone's voice. And I want to make sure everybody who entered the contest and worked so hard to finish a project and get their shop page completely set up on the GameCrafter and everything will know that I'm encouraging them to move forward, and also that any of my feedback is constructive and meant to be helpful, and I think it'll be easier to hear that if they can hear the sound of my voice instead of just reading it in words. In case you're not familiar with the GameCrafter, let's go over now and look at the website and the contest page to see how everything's set up. Alright, here we are on the GameCrafter's homepage, and as you can see, this is a place you can come to make stuff and buy stuff. But more specifically, you can create your own custom board games on the GameCrafter, either to buy and play at home with your friends and family, just a single copy, or in a bulk order to sell through other channels. They have a wide range of printed parts, like all different sizes of cards, chits, folding game boards, player mats, and even various types of boxes to use for product packaging. They have a lot of standard small bits made of wood, plastic, and metal, but they also offer ways to create your own custom parts, like laser-cut chipboard or acrylic pieces, and also custom-etched dice. You can buy 1 to 100 copies on a sliding scale with a better price for 100 than 1, or for an even larger run, you could jump to 500 units or 1,000 units, each with a little bit better bulk price. You might want to buy just one copy to use as a prototype for playtesting or for publisher pitches if you're hoping to get your game signed. If you want to publish yourself on Kickstarter, you might need one really nice copy to help show it off at conventions or in your Kickstarter intro video. You might also want a few extra copies to send to reviewers to help you market the game. And on top of all that, you can also list your game for sale in the GameCrafter shop. And for those people who like to play games but not necessarily design them, you can come here to find and purchase interesting independently published games, or even just get upgraded or replacement bits for your games you already own. But aside from all the shop features, one of my favorite things about the GameCrafter is the community aspect, and that's where we'll find the contests. The GameCrafter is very active with their contests. They almost always have one open for submissions. You can see that the Social Deduction Challenge is the most recent one that's been closed for submissions, and it's in the semi-finalist judging period now. But the Mint Tin Challenge is still open for submissions. If we go into the Social Deduction Challenge, we can see all the entries. Before a contest closes for submissions, you can't see any of the entries. They all show up right after the contest closes for submissions. During the first stage, when the community voting is happening, they're all displayed in a random order. It's different for each visitor, so no one will be more visible than any of the others. But then, once community voting is over, they start being sorted from most votes to least, so these top 20 will be the semi-finalists at this phase. As we get down here to the bottom of the semi-finalist list, we can see that more than one has the same number of votes as the one that has last place in the semi-finalists. That's because there's a tiebreaker for the game that was submitted earliest. So, if you want to enter one of these contests, it's best to get everything filled out as soon as you can and submit early. You're allowed to keep tweaking until the submission period closes. The day that you hit the Submit Contest button will be the one that's used for the tiebreaker, though, so the earlier you can do that, the better. Now, if we keep going down to the bottom of the page, we'll see the details for the rules and the scoring for this particular contest. There's also a link down here that shows the general rules for GameCrafter contests. The general rules, no matter what contest it is, are that submissions can only be for games new to the GameCrafter that haven't been added to the system before the contest was announced. After that, the game has to have all the boxes checked to be able to be published for sale. Even though you don't have to actually list it for sale, it has to have all the images and descriptions and everything filled out to be publish ready and therefore eligible for contest submission. Once the submission period ends, there are 3 rounds of judging. First is the community vote, which we're done with here in the Social Deduction Challenge. The community voting round always results in 20 semi-finalists, just like you see above. After this, the judge or judges look through all the semi-finalist shop pages and the rules PDFs to choose 3 to 7 finalists. Then, the game crafter prints and ships hard copies of all the chosen finalists to the judge, and the judge chooses the winner based on their in-person experience of playing. People who vote in the community vote use crafter points to cast their votes. I think the cost is around 10 to 20 crafter points per vote, and everyone's allowed to vote for as many games as they feel have earned their vote. These contests use crafter point costs for the community voting phase to make it much harder to spoof the system and create a lot of false votes. People have to actually be involved in the game crafter community and have both an account and some crafter points to be able to vote in a contest. Luckily though, crafter points are pretty easy to get if you need them. You can straight out purchase them for not much money. The smallest increment you can purchase is, I think, a little less than 12,000 of them for about $4. One of the easiest free ways to earn them is to give feedback in art tests. Art tests are a way for game designers in the game crafter community to get feedback on the art in their games. Running an art test costs 15,000 crafter points, so if you were a designer looking for art feedback but didn't yet have any crafter points, you could pay for an art test by buying maybe $6 worth of crafter points. Pro tip: if you want to encourage your friends in the local area to vote for you in a game crafter contest, you can help them get just a few crafter points by training them to participate in the art test feedback system. Direct them to make their game crafter account, run an art test for your game, and prompt them to give feedback on your art test immediately after you open it. Art tests only allow the first 10 or so people who see the art test running to provide feedback, so if your fans don't check quickly, they might miss the opportunity to win the points. It's possible that another community member will be running an art test your fans can provide feedback for too, so you might not necessarily have to run your own art test. There are different prizes for every contest. For this one, it's a really large shop credit from the game crafter because they were the ones who came up with the idea for this contest and then invited me to be the judge. In a lot of cases with these contests, a publisher will approach the game crafter and request to have a contest run on the game crafter site. In those cases, often, a chance to be published with the publisher is part of the top prize. I think induction into the Game Crafter Hall of Fame is always part of the top prize too. Although judges aren't required to provide a scoring rubric, I decided I wanted to provide one to help give people guidance as early on in the contest as I could, and to help them see what I would consider important. I'm also hoping that it will help me keep my thoughts organized when I get to the stage of judging the physical copies. And with this rubric, I did include a bonus point here at the bottom. After looking at all of the entries, I think that there was some confusion on what I said here. I think people thought I meant either have a thematic narrative or have a tutorial module that teaches the game. But what I was trying to say was either have a thematic narrative that teaches the game or have a tutorial module that teaches the game. I apologize for the confusion, but now before I go on to the judging of the finalist round, I want to be clear that I won't be granting this bonus point unless there is something that teaches the game in a creative way. Although I do appreciate rich theming, and I think all the designers that made an effort to ramp up the theme will have improved their game in the process, it's not something I would assign a bonus point to. Instead, it was a creative, story-driven way of teaching the game I felt would be going above and beyond. I know this is difficult to do because it's something I've been working to figure out with my own project. So I was hoping I could encourage other people to do something that would be inspirational to me when I created this bonus point. Before I go, I'd like to talk a little bit about my background and who I am in the Game Crafter community, as well as my thought process and criteria for judging this contest. With Open House Mystery Parties, I'm designing an at-home murder mystery party kit with a flexible guest list. I make the flexible guest list work by drawing at random the character who will be the murderer after all the guests have arrived at the party. This removes some of the stress that is usually associated with a murder mystery party because if somebody has to cancel last minute, there's no chance that it will destroy the whole party by having the most important linchpin character of the murderer be missing if the person who got assigned the murderer character can't come. So through all my work designing that project, I've tried several different social deduction mechanics and iterated on the project, probably redesigning it at least 5 times. And I've played a lot of published social deduction games to try out different mechanics and see which ones I think would work best for my project. So I've built up a little bit of expertise in social deduction, and I think that's a big part of the reason that I was invited to be the judge for this contest. I also entered a contest about 3 years ago through the Game Crafter with Open House Mystery Parties. And at that time, I got the highest votes for community votes because I pushed a little bit harder than I think usually people do by doing local events and then inviting my playtesters to vote for me on the Game Crafter. And if they weren't part of the Game Crafter community already, I trained them how to use the website and how to get crafter points, and prompted them to vote. And they were all, excited because they had been part of the development process. They wanted to see me proceed, and they all were very kind and voted for me. So I have seen people blow my number out of the water since then, but at the time it got me a little bit of attention in the community, and some people know me from way back then. For judging this contest, it was a pretty tough decision because there were a lot of really good entries in this contest, and there were a few that were right on the cusp, maybe 3 or 4 that were so close to being finalists, but I could only choose 7. So I had to break down the different criteria and give scores for each area so that I could differentiate which ones should make the finals. And I've made a spreadsheet that shows how that's all broken down, and it will be linked in the description of this video so you can see some of the details of how the scoring broke out. And I will say I'd just like to congratulate everybody who entered this contest. I know it's a lot of work from entering a contest myself to get the page all set up and your rules finished, and all of that is a lot of hard work. So I appreciate everything that you put into it, and I congratulate you for finishing, whether you made semi-finalist or not, or whether you made finalist or not. I think that there's a lot of value in entering the contest because it helps shine a spotlight on your project, and it helps you push forward and get to a stopping point, at least with a good prototype that you can play test and move forward, whether or not you win the contest overall. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy all of the feedback videos that follow. Hey there, thanks for watching. Be sure to check the description for more information and links to helpful resources. Some links give me a commission if you choose to buy, and I sure do appreciate the support. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.